I would also say, I mean, one of the geniuses of the Calvinian approach is it makes room for everybody. So it's not like just religious and non-religious. It's not sacred and secular. It really is the vision that accords accreditation to ordinary life and ordinary things that we do. Well, hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you. I wish I was there. I'm so glad to see Jenny again. I met her in Cambridge really a few weeks ago, and she collared me. And I was very proud to make her acquaintance. I am a emeritus philosopher of Geneva College, and I've had a bee in my bonnet all my life for philosophy as being kind of the critical underpinnings of just about everything we do. And I've also developed over the years a passion that philosophy is for everybody. And so philosophy needs to be written for everybody because there's one thing you need to be philosophical, and that's to have been born. So also I don't have a great sense of my own greatness. So I figure I needed an ordinary language for myself as well. So that's what I've been on a quest for all my life. And so I Meek's work gets some references in Jenny's book. I have one book called Loving to Know, and that's a phrase that gets mentioned there, and there's some other quotes from my books in there. And so I I have to say that I'm new to thinking about journalism, although I'm very angered about the pickle we're in the U.S. And but I also, as part of my own personal growth, have been reflecting in recent years on what I call my English Christian heritage. And grew up a Baptist, spent, most of my adult life as a Presbyterian in the Reformational tradition, still see myself as in that, but I'm now in an Episcopal setting. And so I've been reading King Arthur and doing lots of other things like that. But I loved Jenny's story of the history of journalism. That was great. I'm the former professor of Drew Johnson, so I was all ears on the Hebrew thing and the role of the prophets. I want to drop the name of Walter Brueggemann, who actually has a book called Truth Telling as Subversive Obedience, about preaching, I think. And so that was so intriguing to me, the invention of journalism and the invention of discourse and the invention, you might even say, of reality was pretty amazing to me. Um, I think what I especially loved was just, a reminder of the Calvinian reformational vision that I really feel like I've got my own roots in. And you know, I that it was as I came into that as a grown Christian that I understood the significance of everything in the world. So somewhere Jenny says something about everything matters. You know, everything matters. And I needed to learn that. And to me, that was just the breath of life and still is. So I really do see that my I think my whole vision that I work from has been kind of a Calvinian one. And I think that what, if you look at my work, I think what I've been trying to do is articulate an epistemology. That means an understanding of how we know whatever it is we know, that kind of goes with that Calvinian reformational vision. And you figure, if you take the biblical doctrine of creation and you think about the relatedness between the creator and the creature, and the whole matter of knowing God, I mean, all this kind of raises questions about how knowing works. And I would also say, I mean, one of the geniuses of the Calvinian approach is it makes room for everybody. So it's not like just religious and non-religious. It's not sacred and secular. It and somebody said this, one of the rest of you who spoke earlier, that it really is the vision that accords accreditation to ordinary life and ordinary things that we do. And so, actually, Jenny, do you know the work of David Kettle? Oh, you probably can't hear me. That's all right. Anyway, he was a successor to Leslie Newbigin. Of course, Newbigin has really influenced my work too. But y'all, you might want to pick up this book if you don't know about it. Western Culture and Gospel Context. So he's really a Newbiginian and he's a Polanyian. Nobody's mentioned that name yet. But let's see, it would be, let me see if I can find the title. There's a chapter 3. The modern betrayal of inquiry, conversion to attentiveness toward God. And that might actually, maybe more concisely than my work, get at the point that part of what's going on in secularism, or, for me, it's modernism or the modernist epistemology. And I would say, it's not just religious literacy, it's philosophical literacy, which is all kind of together and beyond all this. Um, Part of what's happened is this betrayal of inquiry by a faulty epistemology. So, what Kettle calls a logical inversion to a theoretical framework, okay, which is just appalling. And so, what you need for an accurate understanding of knowing is what he's going to call radical attentiveness, uh, best typified by the Blessed Mother Mary, as opposed to Zechariah. so, so what I see and what I've been on a mission for all my life, it seems, is, the bad guy of modernist epistemology. And one of the things that does, if it, and because I'm interested in ordinary people, it's a mindset that's really an epistemological presumption that knowledge is information, right? And actually what modernity does is occlude all transcendent commitments, religious or otherwise. And that includes philosophical underpinnings. So the philosophy that is modernist epistemology is an anti-philosophical philosophy, right? So that's certainly part of the problem, that's infecting and skewing, and to use Kettle's word, betraying inquiry and truncating it to cut out the fundamental belief commitments that are the most important things. That's what I saw when, I found out you could study philosophy. Is it just seemed like the most important thing that I needed to do. And after teaching logic for 45 years, I've got a star in my crown in heaven for that. But what logic needs to do is uncover those unsaid presumptions and commitments. And I would say good journalism does too. So part of the problem in crafting an argument is you've got to state what the alternatives say too, and you've got to get the fundamental commitments, and that's part of good journalism, I would say too. But the fact is that in the name of the secular, all this philosophical, all these commitments have simply been said to be useless, and just excised. So it's a myopia that is that betrayal of inquiry. So that all of that kind of has made me see, as I listened to Jenny's book, that really what I did was try to come up with an epistemology that actually I would say any good journalist worth their salt is already doing. As in the Calvinian tradition, there's this thing called common grace. And that means you can get it right whether you knew it or not, right? And I would say somebody that's passionately committed to the truth, prophetically committed to the truth, which I would say y'all are saying is the essence of what it is to be a journalist. What they're living out is a healthy epistemology. right? And it happens to be the case that the healthy epistemology makes sense of knowing God too. And so in my loving to know epistemology, or covenant epistemology as I call it, it starts with encounter, face-to-face encounter. So knowing is intimate communion and presence, right? And that makes us the best knowing. And it like torpedoes the distinction between subjective and objective because it's way more transcendently objective. It's also where Calvin starts the institutes with a face-to-face encounter. So I would say that's what's behind loving to know. Our calling is to love reality. That's our calling as human persons, is to love the real and to go after it. And that's what I think that would be, what a journalist really, really wants to do. And I would say it's so evident to me that Jenny is living out her calling in this book. It's just pretty, pretty patent. So I think I've said, oh, another word for both the religious and the philosophical that I think is helpful is a phrase I think from Paul Tillich talking about matters of ultimate concern. And so there is simply no way that you would write a good piece if you didn't name all the matters of ultimate concern. And so Paul's saying, but money, sex, and power, but oh, you better stick faith in there. And I would say fundamental way of seeing the world. So that is really, really important.